Alright, MTWS fans, it's now time for the next Top 10 Seasons video, as it's now time to cover the Top 10 2023 MTWS seasons. The first season, of course, with the V5 trucks, and we had some wild moments and wild highlights because of those trucks. So now, let's get into this year. The Top 10 2023 MTWS season events. Number 10 is San Diego, November 12th, 2023. Of course, it was the day after the Superstar Challenge, and it was a fun flex that this was a much better event than the Superstar Challenge. And boy, was it a wild one to get things started. Crusher got the number 1 qualifier for the first time in almost 12 years. Patriot was number 2. Crazy Bull got free. Total Chaos flipped in its pass. And then we got to round 1, where Total Chaos would beat Predator. Reckless Intent would beat High Flying in a photo finish. Prowler would upset Power Forward, who had a terrible pass. Crasher would beat Venom. Round 2 was Crusher beating Total Chaos. Topsy Turvy beating Outrage, who flipped on the final turn. War Machine beat Bone Crusher. Thunderbolt beat Rex Lieutenant. Crazy Bull beat Prowler. Damage Control beat Shadowrun in a photo finish. Flying Falcon beat Night Stalker, and Patriot beat Crasher. In the quarterfinals, it would be Topsy Turvy beating Crusher. Thunderbolt beating War Machine. Crazy Bull beating Destroyer, who flipped at the end of its pass. And Patriot would beat Flying Falcon. In the semifinals, it would be Topsy Turvy upsetting Thunderbolt to make the finals for the first time since 2012, and Crazy Bull would beat Patriot to make the finals for the 4th consecutive event in a row, and Crazy Bull would beat Topsy Turvy to win racing for the third event in a row, which was insane. Freestyle started off with Rex Intent, as had a wild run with 2 saves off the campers, with one of them being air, and got 28. Crasher came out but had a weird RR moment and got a wheelie off the van stack, but would send it backwards and flip it over, which is unfortunate, getting a 4. Then War Machine came out and had a wild save right before bonus time and got a 27. Then Bone Crusher came out and got a backflip off the tabletop with 2 tires on it and got a 27. Then Crazy Bull came out going for a double down but flipped early in the bonus time and got a 26, including having almost 2 sidewall saves. Topsy Turvy came out and had a huge crossthread on the camper stack and crushed them, but also had an RR moment. I remember this too. This was so stupid. It stalled going into the walls and such. Topsy Turvy would tie Reckless Intent with a 28. Venom came out and had a wild run with a strange barrel roll save, and a corkscrew. It almost flipped off the tabletop, and Venom would take the lead with a 31. Then Crusher came out and had a wild run, got a reverse save off a backflip, and had another save with full momentum after that. Crusher would take the lead with a 32. Flying Falcon came out, but flipped before bonus time to get a 26. Damage Control came out and had a wild run with a stoppy front flip, and the only reason it happened, oh my god, I remember this, because when I was doing Damage Control's run, a pop-up happened on my desktop, and it messed up my controls for several seconds until I got rid of the pop-up, and the truck just kept going on its own in full throttle where I had no control over it. It was so really irritating. If it flipped over, I might have restarted the run right then and there, because that was so stupid when that happened. Oh god, just remembering that. Alright, so Damage Control would get a 30. Night Stalker came out and got a 31. Patriot came out and had a wild save on the racing lane early, but ended before bonus time with a strange RR moment where it caught something on the racing lane's cars and sent it into a mid-air flip into a full stop. And I think I remember that, and got a 27. Predator came out and started with a reverser up the campers and ended up getting a reverse backflip on the ground. Predator was going strong until it flipped with 58 seconds left and got a 26. Prowler came out but flipped with half of regulation still going and got an 18. Power Forward came out, had a great run with a front flip on top of the center jump and tied Crusher with a lead with a 32. High Flying came out but grabbed the wall with 30 seconds left in regulation to get a 19. And Total Chaos came out but flipped right before bonus time to get a 27. Then Thunderbolt came out and had a wild run with an insane random corkscrew that somehow pulled off the racing lane but flipped early in bonus time to get a 31. Outrage came out and had a wild run but flipped too early on the camper stack where it got a massive skywheelie on the crossthread jumps and crushed the rear end on land and get a 25. Last up was the defending freestyle champion Shadowrun with insane run full throttle through the run and perfect land up for every single obstacle and finished with an insane skywheelie to crush the rear ended like Outrage did on the same camper stack, and Shadowrun would win freestyle for 37. What a great event it was. But we continue on, as now, number 9, New Orleans, September 17th, 2023. As This was U-turn style racing with a jump at the beginning, which was an interesting take. Probably like the shortest racing track of the year other than Julian, and very compact area that you see at the end with the tabletop, the jackrabbit, and the fountain and such. But it was a tough track course despite that, as qualifying ended with Fireball getting number 1 qualifier. War Machine got number 2, which was very surprising, and a lot of trucks struggled out there spinning out. But anyways, in round 1, it would be Crusher Run beating Ye Plunder, Impala beating Bone Crusher, Shadow Run beating Night Stalker in a photo finish, and Total Chaos would beat Bling. In round 2, Fireball would beat Crush and Run, Blood Rage beat Prowler in a photo finish, Power Forward beats Venom, Impala beats Eruption, Nitro beats Shadow Run, Destroyer beats Stinger in a photo finish, Thunderbolt beats High Flying, and Total Chaos would beat War Machine in a photo finish. In the quarterfinals, it would be Fireball beating Blood Rage in a photo finish, Power Forward beating Impala, how funny too, with a 2011 Racing Champion rematch in New Orleans. Nitro would beat Destroyer, but then hit the double and pop the tire. And then Total Chaos would upset Thunderbolt, who got a penalty. In the semifinals, it would be Fireball beating Power Forward in a photo finish, and Nitro getting its tire fixed in time to face Total Chaos to make the finals for the first time since as the 2022 champion. But in the finals, it would be Fireball beating Nitro to prevent from winning the race in there. Alright, then we got the freestyles. Bone Crusher start off, but flipped into the double, getting a stoppie with 64 seconds left to get a 17. Then Crush and Run came out and stuffed rear end into the dirt, going well over the racing lane right before bonus time. And it would get the lead with a 25. Then Night Stalker came out and had a great run where it wrapped it with a corkscrew off the van stack and a sideways hit to take the lead with a 29. And Stinger came up and flipped doing a sidewall donut and got a 25. Venom came out and would get a stoppie. Get stoppies and saves everywhere and starts running with a save from a wheelie. Flipped with 2 seconds left and to take the lead with a 32. Then Destroyer came out and had a run full of saves, including one of the strangest saves in years on the double, and laid down its famous Cyclone before flipping into the wall. And this got 28. Bling came out with a lot of saves and would get second place with 30. Ye Plunder came out with 3 saves before flipping into the race lane with 5 seconds left to get a 29. Fireball came out going for a double down, had a wild stop into a front flip. I remember that. I think that was in the intro video. More saves in the run to get the lead and get a 29. Power Forward came out and did its best. Prowler, came out and did its best for the hometown crowd with many saves, but flipped with 10 seconds left to get a 30. Eruption came up but flipped while having a wild sidewall donut before bonus time and will get a 26. Blood Rage came out but flipped early, getting a massive sky wheelie off the double and flipped off the side, and only using 30 seconds to get a 12. High Flying came out but flipped and didn't use 30 seconds, so it would only get a 10. War Machine came out and flipped while using 40 seconds. I remember this because a lot of trucks that all of a sudden just randomly started screwing up. Sidewall into the van stack and would get a 15. Total Chaos came out and have an awesome run to get second place with 31. Thunderbolt came out and would have a mediocre regulation by its standards, but have a wild bonus time full of saves and would get a 30. Power Forward came out and filled the clock with a wild save that took 10 seconds to finish and had a lot of momentum and would tie Venom with a 32. Then Nitro came out and had an amazing run with 3 consecutive saves. Oh my god, that was ridiculous. With 2 front flips, and Nitro would take the lead with a 35. Impala came out and was all over the place in its run, flooring into everything and then slowing down a lot, and wrapped up its run with a near backflip on the sidewall of the jackrabbit before flipping, stuck between the fountain and the tabletop and get a 31. And then last up was Shadow Run, and once again, like in 2023, it would have a wild run showing why it's the defending champion, but would also fall short when freestyle with a 33 to give the victory to Nitro. What a wild event it was. Alright, now, number 8. East Rutherford, December 31st, 2023, as this was the East Coast season finale, as it was the debut of Dash Style Racing, which was a very interesting design. Freestyle, of course, had to have more obstacles out there. You only got to see racing right here. And this event was wild because the freestyles didn't have necessarily a lot of momentum, but my goodness, they had some wild moments out there, which was insane. But anyways, Crush and Run will get the number 1 qualifier, and Mad Dog get number 2 in qualifying. So anyways, in racing, it would be Crazy, upsetting Fireball, who flipped on its pass. Daisy Chain would beat War Machine, Crusher would beat Crasher, and Predator would beat the Monster Razor. In round 2, it would be Crush and Run beating Crazy, Blood Rage beating Stinger, High Flying beating Venom, Nitro beat Daisy Chain, Crusher beats Prowler, Destroyer beats Topsy Turvy, Patriot beats Wild Ride, who flipped on its pass, and Mad Dog would beat Predator. In the quarterfinals, Crush and Run would beat Blood Rage, Nitro would beat High Flying, Crusher would beat Destroyer, and Mad Dog would beat Patriot. In the semifinals, Nitro would beat Crush and Run, Mad Dog would beat Crusher. In the semifinals, just like in 2010, it would be Mad Dog and Nitro in the finals, and Mad Dog would once again win in racing. Crusher would start off, Crash would start off freestyle, but flipped on a stoppie attempt to get a 24. Crush and Run came out and had a wild stoppie save and took the lead of a 28. Then the Monster Razor came out but flipped too early to get a 17. Stinger came out and took the lead of a 29. Topsy Turvy came out and had a wild stoppie save and would take the lead with 30. Then Daisy Chain came up but flipped early on a stoppie on the race lane to get a 20. Destroyer came out and had a wild run and took the lead with a 32. Crusher came out and had a wild skill save and took the lead with a 34. Predator then came out and had a reverse sidewall save, a crazy save off the stoppie, and then other things to take the lead with a 35. And then it gets even more insane because then afterwards, it was Prowler came out and had another wild run with stoppies, saves, and corkscrews to take the lead with a 36. These last 4 trucks are put up high scores that no one would expect. Then Venom came out but flipped early to get a 26. Patriot came out but flipped on the second hit and got a 6. Wild Ride came out and had a wild stoppie save that got a 29. Fireball came out and had a wild run but flipped on the backflip and got a 28. War Machine came out and had a wild save off a backflip and would flip getting a stoppie to get a 31. Blood Rage came out and got a 26. High Flying came out and was going good, but flipped to get a corkscrew attempt on the van stack and get a 30. Crazy came out and had a wild run, but flipped too early to get a 31. Mad Dog came out going for double down and had an amazing run, but fell short of a 34. Then Nitro came out last, had an amazing run, but flipped right before bonus time on a corkscrew and fell short of a 35. And with that, Prowler won only its second ever MTWS event and its first win since Irvin back in December 2009 for the season finale then. 14 years it took for Prowler to win its second event. The MTWS truck came out for an encore but flipped on a front flip off the stoppie at the end of the event, just like it would do like in Detroit. Yeah, this event was insane. A lot of trucks didn't have necessarily a lot of momentum in freestyle, but man, they did have some wild skill stuff. That was insane. Alright, now up. Number 7. Phoenix, October 29th, 2023. What a wild event this was for our debut, as we did paperclip style racing here in Phoenix. And qualifying ended with Bling surprisingly getting the #1 qualifier. It was the first time since it did in the 2011 season finale in Jacksonville. Crush Road get number 2, Impala got number 3. Main truck struggled on the tight track with the turns and all that. But anyways, racing would begin with Topsy Turvy beating Daisy Chain, Damage Control beating High Flying, with both trucks flipping on their pass. Power Forward beats Prowler, and Madness would beat Bone Crusher. In round 2 would be Bling beating Topsy Turvy, Blood Rage beating Polar Storm, who became the first MTWS truck to flip twice in racing. My goodness. Night Stalker beats Predator, who flipped at the end. High Flying beats Damage Control. Power Forward beats Impala, who struggled. Fireball would beat Nitro. Crazy Bull beats Shadowrun, and Madness would upset Crush and Run. In the quarterfinals, Blood Rage would beat Bling. Night Stalker beats High Flying. Fireball beats Power Forward, and Crazy Bull would beat Madness. In the semifinals, Night Stalker would upset Blood Rage to make the finals for the first time ever. And Crazy Bull would beat Fireball to make the finals for the third straight event in a row, just like we covered earlier at San Diego. And in the finals, Crazy Bull would beat Night Stalker in a race where both trucks flip, and Crazy Bull still won racing for the second week in a row. Alright, so then in freestyle, it would be Bone Crusher starting off freestyle and had a great run and hit everything on the track with stoppies and a front flip on a stoppie save and would take the lead with a 30. Damage Control came out but flipped on the side of the hybrid and using 18 seconds to get a 6. Then Flying Falcon came out and had a wild run where it had 4 saves but flipped on the Jersey wall with 20 seconds left in bonus time and would tie Bone Crusher with a 30. Topsy Turvy came out and had a great run but flipped with 31 seconds left in regulation to get a 22. Crazy Bull came out and had a wild run and flipped with 8 seconds left to prevent getting a double down as it got a 31 with taking the lead. Then Crusher Run came out and got a 30. Predator came out but flipped with 28 seconds left in regulation to get a 24. Polar Storm came out but flipped using 19 seconds, only getting 8. Prowler came out and had an insane run and went off and stuffed into the camper at the end to take the lead of a 32. Madness came out and got a 25. High Flying Falcon came out and got a 28. Night Stalker came out and had had a wild run finish bonus time with a corkscrew backflip off the bus stack and tied Prowler for 32. Blink came out and flipped on the race lane with 24 left to get a 21. Blood Rage came out but flipped early to get a 30. Daisy Chain came out with flips on early sidewall, driving into the dirt to get a 22. Fireball came out and flipped before doing its intro, and was out of sync after that, and flipped over the bus stack to get a 16. Power Forward came out, but flipped on top of the hybrid early to get a 21. And funny enough, it would roll off the hybrid back on its tires, but was already done, so it was not able to refire. Nitro came out and took a hard hit and destroyed the tire, and pulled into a save somehow. The pop tire caused major problems for Nitro before it front flipped roof first into the hybrid, saved it at the end of its run, and Nitro would only get a 25. Impala came out with a wild run with a mid-air corkscrew off the bus stack and would take the lead for 33. Last up was defending champion Shadow Run, I think near its hometown too, but flipped over the barriers and hit the truck haulers with 48 seconds left to only get a 22 to allow Impala to win freestyle. What a wild event it was in Phoenix. I hope that one day come back here again. But we continue on as number 6, Detroit, October 15th, 2023. As this was the first, we used SoCal Racing, and this actually was the first time MTWS used SoCal Racing in over 4 years, which is hard to believe it had been that long. But we used a bunch of new obstacles, and some of them I made by scratch too, which was really nice and proud of doing and such. Anyways, qualifying ended with Outlaw getting the #1 qualifier, Shatter was number 2, and Patriot was number 3, and Rex Attempt would flip its pass to get a DNF, so that's an unfortunate thing that happened there. Alright, so then racing, we had Reckless Intent beating Night Stalker, Locomotion beating Crasher, who choke, Venom would beat Upset Fireball, who struggled, and Bling would upset Mad Dog. We had a lot of upsets, I think. Round 2 would be Reckless Intent, Upset and Outlaw. Yep, there we go in a photo finish. Crusher would beat Flying Falcon, Crazy Bull would beat Daisy Chain, Locomotion would beat Predator, Venom would upset Patriot, Impala would beat Thunderbolt, a huge matchup in front of Impala's hometown too. Polar Storm would beat Crazy, and Shatter would beat Bling. In the quarterfinals would be Crasher beating Reckless Intent, Crazy Bull beat Locomotion, Impala would beat Venom, and Shatter would beat Polar Storm. In the semifinals, Crazy Bull would beat Crusher, and Venom would beat Shatter, and who choked. In the finals, and this would begin, I think this was the event that began the rivalry between Impala and Crazy Bull, as Impala would beat Crazy Bull in the photo finish to win racing in its hometown. Alright, then in freestyle, it was Reckless Intent starting off and had saves all over the place and got a 30, really good start. Polar Storm came out and had a lot of saves to get a 26. Crasher came out and had a great run and it got a 27. Predator came out and what a wild run it was for Predator. Front flip off the center jump to start off. Had a big skill move and reversed up both the bus stack and the center jump and almost pulled a reverse backflip off the cars before going over. And Predator would take the lead for 31. Crazy Bull came out and flipped with 16 seconds left to run on the sidewall to get a center jump to get a 27. Locomotion came out but flipped with 12 seconds in on a sidewall to get a 26. Then Flying Falcon came out but flipped into the wall with 75 left and it would only get a 16. Bling came out but Bling flipped early with 16 left in regulation to get a 19 as both trucks front flipped in their hoods, in their runs. Night Stalker came out and Night Stalker had a great run with multiple saves and a sidewall donut and would take the lead of 32. Daisy Chain came out but flipped on the wall while doing a sidewall donut with 48 seconds left to get a 26. Venom came out and had a wild save on the container stack to get a 28. Then Patriot came out and had a wild run by Patriot with sideways jumping the container stack just like Locomotion did, and Patriot get a 30. Fireball came off a wild run by Fireball with a huge sidewall save to get a 31. Then Crusher came off a great run by Crusher, who got a reverse wheelie across the entire racing lane. I remember that. But flipped onto the bus stack before bonus time to get a 29. Then Shatter came up but flipped into the wall with 73 seconds left to get an 18. Outlaw came out and Outlaw stuffed in the containers with 4 seconds left and had a wild momentum, full momentum run to take the lead for 33. Crazy came up but Crazy flipped with 56 seconds left to get a 25. Hometown Truck Impala was going for a double down, but Impala flipped with 55 seconds left to get a 27. Thunderbolt came out and showed why it was a two-time champion to land a massive cartwheel save right before bonus time and hit everything out there full throttle to take the lead for 36. Last up was Mad Dog, had a wild run but flipped before bonus time and it cost us, it only got a 33. What a wild event Detroit was. But we continue on as now number 5, Chester, August 27th, 2023. as this was our debut in Chester, and this was the first non-live MTWS event since New Orleans back on December 18th of 2015, as it was a little rusty for me at first to do it since I haven't done a non-live event in years, so it took a lot to get used to. And at first I wasn't sure if the event was going to be good, but man, did it turn out wild to get this high on the ranking. Anyways, Venom would get the #1 qualifier for the first time ever. Thunderbolt would get number 2, Impala would get number 3, Shadow would get number 4. Racing ended up, as this was Chicago style race as you could tell, Locomotion would beat Daisy Chain, the Monster Razor would beat Topsy Turvy, Total Chaos would beat Crazy in a photo finish, and Prowler would beat Madness. In round 2 would be Locomotion beating Venom in a photo finish, War Machine beats Crusher in another photo finish, and Crusher clipped the container at the end and had a barrel roll save. I remember that. Oh boy, that was wild. Nitro would beat High Flying, Shatter would beat the Monster Razor, Impala would beat Total Chaos, Outlaw beats Blood Rage, Rex Intent would beat Crasher, and Thunderbolt would beat Prowler. In the quarterfinals would be Locomotion beating War Machine in a photo finish, and Locomotion would flip at the end. Shatter would beat Nitro, Outlaw would beat Impala with the fastest time of the event, and Thunderbolt would beat Rex Intent. And in the semifinals, Locomotion would upset Shatter to make the finals for the first time ever, but the truck died before the final jump and had to be towed back after winning. Thunderbolt would beat Outlaw, and because Locomotion was not fixed in time, it ended up losing, so Shatter came back to face Thunderbolt, and Thunderbolt would beat Shatter in racing. So rip out me Locomotion. It had its chance to make its first finals appearance, and it got ripped by a broken truck and all that. Alright, so then Freestyle started off with Topsy Turvy, but flipped too early to only get a 16. Rex the Tank came out and took the lead with 26. Madness came out and took the lead with 27. The Monster Razor came out and had a good run to take the lead with 29. Crasher came out and had a wild run by its standards, but was a slow start to only get a 27. Crusher came up but flipped early on a skill roller to get a 27. Venom came up but flipped too early after stuffed into the container to get a 25. Prowler came out while it had really no momentum. It had 4 flips, with 2 of them being front flips, and a a cartwheel flip, I remember, which is in the intro of the 2024 season, and ended up tying the lead with a 29. Then Daisy Chain came out, but front flipped after landing a sky wheelie and couldn't save it, and would only get a 22. That also, I think, was in the intro as well. Then Locomotion came out after getting fixed, but flipped early to only get a 25. War Machine came out with another wild run to get a stoppie into a reverse backflip and would take the lead with a 32. Blood Rage came out and was going strong until it hit the wall hard enough to lock its rear tire up, and that would limit Blood Rage run, and it would only get a 26. Then High Flying came up but flipped into the bus stack to only get a 25. Thunderbolt came out and was going for a double down but popped its tire after getting a huge skywheel, and then flipped during the turn to only get a 26. I remember that, dug into the dirt. Then Nitro came out and had an amazing run and pulled 2 huge saves in its run and would blow into the lead with a 37, and I think it popped both its rear tires in that run too. It was insane! Shatter came out but flipped after somehow getting a corkscrew off the fan stack, stuffing it sideways into the Jackrabbit to destroy the front end of the truck to get a 31. Crazy came out and had an amazing run and somehow closed to the immense twist that Tom did in Baltimore 2011 in Baltimore, landed on the bus stack sideways, but fell short with a 34. Total Chaos came out but flipped early after trying to replicate what Thunderbolt did in racing, after it jumped into the container from the racing lane, but Total Chaos stuffed into it and it would get a 26. And then near hometown truck Outlaw, who is from Philadelphia, came out and would have a huge run full of momentum but didn't get the huge saves like Nitro did and would fall short of a 36. Last one was Impala, and Impala was sent off the sides on each thing it hit, and it really hurt its momentum throughout the run to only get a 26 to allow Nitro to win. What a wild event it was. That was insane. I hope to go back to Chester eventually. Alright, as we continue on now. Number 4, Denver, December 24th, 2023. As this event was the third event in MTWS history that originally was not going to be live but ended up being so because it was much easier for me with Atlanta the next day, and then East Rutherford and Oakland as the season finales to film like 4 events in a week. I didn't feel comfortable doing it, so I made it live in the end. It saved me a lot of time. And it was the debut of Denver style, which I originally wanted to do in 2021, but I couldn't quite figure out the design for it at the time. So it was nice to see that. Blood Rage would get the #1 qualifier like it did the year in 2021, I think, as Crush surprised everyone by getting number 2. And many trucks struggled driving on that track. That was a tough track first time trying it out. Alright, but anyways, in round 1, it would be Shatter beating Flying Falcon as both trucks struggled. Total Chaos would beat Night Stalker, who flipped. Fireball would beat Outrage, and High Flying would beat Stinger, who flipped. In round 2, Stinger would beat Blood Rage, even though it says it beat right there, so it must have been someone else, and upset potentially. Reckless Intent, oh yeah, Shatter, there we go. No idea why Stinger's there. Anyways, Reckless Intent would beat Daisy Chain, who flipped. Bling would beat Crusher, who almost flipped. Wild Ride would beat Total Chaos. Fireball would beat Eruption. War Machine would beat Ye Plunderer. And Madness would beat Shadowrun. And Bone Crusher would beat High Flying, who flipped. In the quarterfinals, it was Shatter who beats Reckless Intent. Bling would upset Wild Ride. Fireball would beat War Machine. And Bone Crusher would beat Madness. In the semifinals, Shatter would beat Bling, who flipped. And Fireball would beat Bone Crusher. In the finals, it would be Shatter beating Fireball, who flipped, as Shatter would once again win race in Denver like it did last time. Alright, freestyle started off with Daisy Chain having a great run but flipped early to get a 27. Then Bone Crusher came out but flipped on the first hit, trying to repeat its triple jump move it did in 2021 to only get a 7. Stinger came out and got a 27, make up for its terrible run in Denver 2 years ago. Then Crusher came out but flipped early, getting a stoppie into the wall and got a 17. So much for trying to replicate its run from 2021. Ye Plunderer came out, had a wild save, had wild saves everywhere to get a 27. Blink came out, had a wild run full of saves like it did in 2021, and went for the corkscrew and destroyed the front end on land. I remember that to take the lead with a 28. Wild Ride came out, had a wild momentum-filled run with a corkscrew and took the lead with a 32. Night Stalker came out, but flipped early and got only a 15. Then Madness came out, but flipped early and got 15. Reckless Intent came out, but flipped early on the rock pile to get 16. War Machine came out, had an amazing run with 2 corkscrews to take the lead with a 34. Then Fireball came out with a wild run to get a 32. Eruption came out, had a wild run to get a 31. Blood Rage came out, had a wild cartwheel save and got a backflip off the semi-trailer to get a 32. 32 somehow. High Flying came out and tried to replicate its win run from 2021. It would have a corkscrew in its run and would land on the cars, if I remember. No, I think it was Braun by Vesser it happened. It had a wild corkscrew, but it was not enough. It would tie War Machine with a 34, I mean to say. Shatter came out going for a double down. It had an insane run full of saves and would take the lead with a 38. Outrage came out but flipped early and only got a 25. Total Chaos came out but flipped early on Skywheel to get a 23. Flying Falcon came up but flipped early to get a 25, and last up was Shadowrun, who had a wild run but flipped early into the racing lane, and she got a 29 to allow Shatter to get the double down. What an event that was. I hope to do Denver style again one day, and go back to Denver too, because MTWS in Denver the last 2 times we've been there has been nothing but insanity. Alright, number 3, Arlington, November 19th, 2023. As back to Arlington, as it was, SoCal style, no, figure 8 style racing, there we go. As that was the first time I think in a while MTWS did that racing style. It was nice to try it out, and plus making a couple big double jumps too, that was really nice as well. But anyways, as had some new obstacles I mentioned. Qualifying ended with Outlaw getting number 1, and War Machine would surprise everyone by getting number 2, and many elite trucks struggled out there surprisingly. Alright, so round 1 would be Blood Rage beating Power Forward, who struggled. Ye Plunder would beat the Monster Razor. Venom would beat Topsy Turvy in a photo finish. And Prowler would beat Destroyer. In round 2, Outlaw would beat Blood Rage. Thunderbolt would beat Bling in a photo finish. Wild Ride would beat Patriot, who spun out into the bus stack. Stinger would beat Ye Plunder, who spun out twice. Venom would upset Crusher, who flipped at the end. Crazy would beat Total Chaos, who clipped the turning car and flipped in the final turn and barrel rolled and flipped into the double. Crazy Bull would beat Mad Dog in a photo finish, and War Machine would beat Prowler. In the quarterfinals, Thunderbolt would beat Outlaw, Wild Ride would beat Stinger, Venom would beat Crazy, and Crazy Bull would beat War Machine. In the semifinals, Thunderbolt would beat Wild Ride, and Crazy Bull would beat Venom to make the finals for the 5th consecutive time, possibly setting a record, and had a cartwheel save at the end. I remember that. In the finals, it would be Thunderbolt beating Crazy Bull to win its 3rd racing win of the year and preventing Crazy Bull from win racing 4 straight times, which could have also been a potential record. Alright, Ye Plunder started off freestyle where it clipped into the Cowboys bus stack after front flipping into it from the racing lane, right into bonus time to get a 25. I think that was in the intro too for Ye Plunderer. Then the Monster Aggressor came out and had a good run by by it and had a strange barrel roll off the bus stack, which is in the intro, to get a 28. Then Topsy Turvy came up but flipped early and got a 21. War Machine came out and went for the double fountain and stuffed into the rock pile and ended up flipping back onto the van stack with 18 seconds left in bonus time to get a 27. Crush and Run came out and had a great run, had a wild stoppie into a front flip into the wall and sidewall saved into bonus time to get a 29. Crazy Bull came out, had a wild run full of moves and would flip early to get a 24. Stinger came out and was lucky as it flipped on the second hit and got enough momentum to save it to avoid being done, and had a great bonus time as well in the first backflip of the day into a stoppie, and then got a corkscrew save off the double as Stinger would take the lead of a 30. Destroyer came out and had a wild, had some stoppies, but flipped before its famous Cyclone on another skill save to get a 27. Blaine came out but flipped near the backflip wall to get a 27. Prowler came out but flipped off the double fountain to get a 26. Blood Rage came out but stalled the early its run and managed to fire back up and would flip on a backflip attempt right bonus time to get a 26. Wild Ride came out, had a good run, but popped a tire on a violent hit. And I remember too, it had like a nosedive too. That's in the intro as well. And it would really cost Wild Ride as it would get a 29. Patriot came out, but violently flipped into the step up from the double, as that was also in the intro. That was wild as well, I remember that. As it would only get a 26. Venom came out and would have free saves, pop its tire in one of them, and then somehow get a backflip off the double fountain thanks to the tire, and flipped into the fountain with 30 left in regulation to get a 16. Total Chaos came out, had an insane run, and got a backflip into a stoppie, and reversed all the way back to the double, I remember that, and pulled a reverse momentum backflip. Oh my god, I remember that too. That was insane. Total Chaos will take the lead with a 30 free. Outlaw came out and had one of the best runs of 2023, full throttle to everything, and managed to pull a Ryan Anderson hit on the step up, and pulled an unbelievable reverse wheelie off the backflip, and it crab walked all the way across the track, going back and forth. It was insane, as it would take the lead with a 37. Power Forward came up but slammed into the double in a bad spot and destroyed the front end and only get a 26. Thunderbolt came out, going for the double down, had a wild run but flipped with free left in regulation to get a 30. Crazy came out and flipped up to his name, had a wild run with a lot of violent hits, and somehow kept going until the truck couldn't take it anymore, and flipped off the Cowboys bus stack to get a 34. Last up was Mad Dog, who had a wild freestyle where it broke its tail offense run, full throttle, had a wild finishing move off the Cowboys bus stack, it turned into a corkscrew, and destroyed a tire on landing, but it would only get a 35, allowing Outlaw to win. What a wild run it was in Arlington, especially Outlaw's like weird moonwalk, Poe went back and forth, reverse stopping, all that. It was insane. One of the greatest freestyles of the year. But this event was only number 3 on the list. We still got 2 more events to go. Alright, so now, number 2, Orlando, November 5th, 2023. As this was the debut of elevated Vegas-style racing in MTWS, and Topsy Turvy surprised everyone by getting the number 1 qualifier. Blood Rage was 2, and Stinger was free. Bone Crusher got DNF after flipping before the final turn, and many trucks clipped the turn-in wall too, going into the final turn, I remember correctly. Alright, in racing, it would be Bone Crusher upsetting Wild Ride, who had another flip into at the end. Nitro would beat Locomotion and flip at the end. Polar Storm would upset Mad Dog, and Night Stalker would beat the Monster Razor. Round 2 was Topsy Turvy, and Bone Crusher was dropped at the moment. Crusher would upset Crush and Run. Patriot would beat Bling. Shadow would beat Nitro. Stinger would beat Polar Storm. Destroyer would beat Madness. Shadowrun would beat Ye Plunder. And Night Stalker would upset Blood Rage. In the quarterfinals, Topsy Turvy would beat Crusher. Shadow would beat Patriot. Stinger would beat Destroyer. And Shadowrun would beat Night Stalker. The semifinals, Shadow would beat Topsy Turvy, who struggled, and Stinger would beat Shadowrun, who struggled. And the finals, it would be Stinger beating Shatter, as it would be the 2nd year in a row Stinger would win racing in Orlando. It's amazing how that happened. Maybe we need to go to Orlando again, see if we can keep that streak going. That was wild. Alright, so then we get the freestyles. This was wild. Ye Plunder started off with a great run to get a 27. Stinger came out going for a double down, had a great run, got the first backflip of the night to take the lead with a 29. Crusher Run came up but flipped too early off the tire ramp to only get a 5. Crusher came out with a wild run with a reverse sidewall and got a 28, which I believe is in the intro as well. Topsy Turvy came out and got a 26. The Monster Razor came up but flipped early off the race lane to get a 21. Polar Storm came out and struggled to get a 23. Bling came out and had a wild save at the end of its run to get a 28. Wild Ride came out but flipped early to get a 19. Destroyer came out, had its famous Cyclone to take the lead with a 30. Then Locomotion came out, had a wild run with a wild start of its run and would take the lead with a 33. Madness came out and had a wild run with multiple saves before flipping to the wall to get a 32. Then Bone Crusher came up but flipped early, trying to get a stoppie to get a 26. Patriot came up but flipped into the wall to get a 25. Night Stalker came out and had a wild save on top of the tabletop and backflip before getting a 27. Shatter came out and had a wild run where it popped its rear tire and left tire too. It would hurt its run to only get a 29. Bone Crusher came out and had a wild run with many saves and another popped tire, but had no momentum and flipped with a 24. Then Nitro came out with a massive crossfred from the triple and had to pull off a clutch save at the end where it went off in a wild run and took the lead with a 35. Then Mad Dog came up and flipped early on the bus stack to get a 30. Last up was Shadowrun. It had an amazing run but flipped early on a corkscrew attempt, but it did just enough to win with a 36. But that was a wild event, but it's not number one. And now, the number one event of the 2023 MTWS season is Baltimore, November 23rd, 2023. The Thanksgiving event. Was it any surprise it was going to be number one? This was like so obvious, as it was also the debut of Elevated St. Louis style racing, as we had a lot of obstacles out there, and would also be the debut of something I wanted to do for a long time in MTWS. The double backflip wall that was used in World Finals 14. I wanted to do that so long in MTWS, and I was finally able to do it, and boy was it felt great. Anyways, Impala would get the number one qualifier, and it would be the first time it got the number one qualifier in over 11 years, and such, so good for it. Anyways, racing would be Mad Dog beating War Machine, Locomotion beating Daisy Chain, who flipped on the first jump and saved it. Shadowrun would beat Venom, who choked, and Nitro would beat Crazy. In round 2 would be Mad Dog beating Impala, who choked. Flying Falcon beats Destroyer, Thunderbolt beats Predator, Shatter beats Locomotion, and all Baltimore matchup, yeah, they're both Baltimore trucks. Outlaw would beat Shadowrun in a photo finish. Polar Storm would beat Total Chaos. Crush and Run would beat Fireball, and both trucks going off the side of the race lane on the jump. And Nitro would beat Eruption, who would slide out. In the quarterfinals would be Mad Dog beating Flying Falcon, who flipped on the first jump. Shatter beats Thunderbolt. Outlaw beats Polar Storm, and Crush and Run would beat Nitro. In the semifinals, Shatter would beat Mad Dog, and Outlaw would beat Crush and Run in a photo finish. And the finals, Shatter versus Outlaw. It would be Shatter win it to get its first and get a win in front of its hometown crowd. But then we get to the main stuff, freestyle. As Polar Storm started off freestyle, but flipped early after breaking to get a 14. Crush and Run came out but flipped before bonus time to get a 26. War Machine came out and had a great run that took the lead with a 30. Then Destroyer came out with a signature Cyclone to get a 26. Eruption came out and had a wild run after struggling for most of the year, and was the first truck in MTWS history to attempt the double backflip, but it failed and flipped and took the lead for 33. Fireball came up but flipped early to get a 27. Daisy Chain came up but flipped too early after getting clipped into the racing lane to get a 17. Predator came out and landed a reverse backflip off the double backflip instead to get a 31 on a huge sky wheelie. Then Flying Falcon came out and had a run with a double backflip attempt that landed with a corkscrew on all tires and kept going, and then got a donut into the wall, flipped, saved it, and got the lead with a 34. Locomotion came out and had a save where it crushed the funnel and tried the double backflip but landed on its side to get a 29. Shatter came out going for a double down. It was having a great run but popped its rear tires and couldn't do much after that to get a 30. Venom came out and got a 29. Total Chaos came up and flipped early on the boxcar stack to get a 9. Thunderbolt came out and had a wild run but got a 31. Impala came out and had an insane run and ended up tying Flying Falcon with a 34. Crazy came out and pulled off an amazing run with huge saves on the double backflip attempt and did sidewall hit on stuff before pulling off a big cartwheel save to end its run with a 39 to take the lead. Mad Dog came up and flipped on a massive skywheel and destroyed the rear end to get a 13. Nitro came up, was having a great run until the rear tire popped to get a 34. Outlaw came out and landed a barrel roll and insane saves but flipped in regulation to get a 35, and last up was the defending champion Shadowrun, who put up a sick run, one of the best runs of the year, with 3 double backflip attempts, with the first one crushing the hood, big saves at full throttle, and end up with a violent barrel roll into the plane fuselage to save it, and ended up getting a 41, the highest scoring run since 2019 Las Vegas event almost 4 years earlier, and it was the highest scoring run in MTWS's history on ROR, and still remains to this day the highest scoring run. What a wild event it was, and what a great year it was, although I still think 2022 was better than 2023. But that's it. Those are all the top 10 events of the 2023 MTW season. And now, there's just one event left, the 2024 season that we just had. As the season's almost over with the championship coming up, I'm going to try and get that done soon. So tune in next time for the final recap of the top 10 events of the 2024 MTW season. See you all then.